look over the minutes, and if so, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion approved.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Commissioner Jernigan, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Beatty, investment report. Welcome, sir.
I am really quick tonight. We didn't have any bids this last month, and our LGIP rate stayed exactly where it was at 31 basis points, so everything's kind of the same.
Motion to approve the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan. Any further discussion or questions, Mr. Beatty? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Well, that was long and painful.
That was rough. Thank y'all.
Fund condition report, Ms. Nolan.
Okay, starting with the development tax. In March, we received $381,750, brings our total for the year to $3,882,000.
Remind me again what our estimate was for the whole
We
year.
are $2,250,000, I think it was, so we have far surpassed our budget estimate.
That's the good news. The bad news is a lot of our apartments will have to find schools to put the children in.
That means lots of people, right?
Debbie Downer.
Yeah,
Lots of
absolutely. I'm a
schools.
proud pessimist, you know.
Okay. Looking at our revenues, the tax roll, that's the yellow on the bottom of the first sheet, the trustees collected 96.32% of the tax roll. And as of 2014, they had collected 96%, a little over 96%. So they're still ahead of what they were last year. We budget 95.5% of collections for the current levy, and so we have met 100% of our estimate for property tax levy. It's a good bit of news too. So as you look through these, when you see on the total local taxes, it's in there, it's just not property tax, but sales tax, development tax, and the general fund, hotel, motel tax. So those, as you can see, are coming in quite a bit better than what we are in the prior years, which you'll expect to see increases in revenue estimates that we do in June.
A lot of that has to do with the economy. It's better than it was 4 years
Yes.
ago.
The other thing, the lines that you see total other local revenues, as you go through that, you'll see that we have far surpassed on that. That's the primary what interest revenue is, and it's quite a bit more than what we were experiencing. So yes, we've met all the interest revenue estimates as well. What I feel really good about, debt service in total, we've met 100% of our revenue. Sales tax through, it's through February on the way that we count, but for the entire county, all the municipalities, everything included, we're 8.75% higher than we were last year at this time. And that's good for the schools, because they're getting,
This is
half of that.
24.6% just in the rural area, right?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Which you'll see that reflected in solid waste, and that's in local taxes in the general fund and highway. On the cash report, we had $255,076,000 total cash. Our operating funds total $214,462,000. Borrowed funds $40,615,000. For a total $255,076,000.
Any questions on the fund condition report?
Motion approved.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Mr. P. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. General fund budget amendment for the election commission. Mr. Farley. First of several Farleys to meet with us tonight.
Good evening. Got a request for increasing our part-time personnel $10,000, but decreasing our election workers. Basically what happened was we had election work for the March 16 election was actually paid out of one account, so we just need to balance those out. So.
Motion to approve?
Thank you, Commissioner Bond.
Second.
Commissioner P. Any further questions, Mr. Farley? I feel sure he's anxious to answer them. Not, call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum? Yes. Commissioner Jernigan? Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Mr.
Motion
Chairman,
passes.
he might want to tell you, too, just as a matter of information, the special request for us to have these special centers, that's passed, more or less passed, has it not?
It has, but we're trying to get through August and November before we put it out there. But yeah, our concept, the vote centers will be in place for 2018. So that will make it more convenient for voters. So we'll get through August and November, and we're going to kind of spend all of 2017 educating the voters on that new concept. But yeah, it's passed the House, passed the Senate, and we're waiting for the governor's signature. So
Well, I know about it, sounds like a good idea. But,
but it really is.
a lot more information to come on that.
It is. Because we don't want, I'm afraid people show up in August and November going, oh, I thought we could do this or do
Right,
that.
yeah, confusing.
So we're kind of just laying low on all the details because with that, because it just really create a lot of confusion and questions. So, but yeah, but it did pass.
Thank you, Mr. Farley.
Thank you.
Risk Management Financial Report, Ms. Street.
Okay, we'll begin with Fund 264 tonight. Ending in the month of March, our per employee per month for our self-funded claims were at $874 compared to prior year of $970, for a year-to-date average of $956 compared to prior year of $886. Combining our on-site medical experience, our per employee per month rises to $921 compared to prior year of $1,004, for a year-to-date average of right at $1,000 compared to prior year of $919. Within Fund 266, ending in the month of March, we're at $440,905 compared to prior year of $484,702.
Any questions on the financial report?
The March report on the first fund, 264.
Yes, sir.
Schools were out this year at the end of March after Easter, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
for
so
fall
it-
break. Mhm.
So it was at the end of March. Did that have something to do with why it came out less than a year?
It's generally, it's how many Mondays are in the month, because we fund on Mondays.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
the higher ones are generally, it's that fifth one.
Just curious. Thank you.
Motion to
Oh.
approve the report.
Thank you,
Second.
Commissioner Allen. Second, Commissioner Schaefer. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Insurance Committee recommendations.
I provided for you in your packet just a copy of our stop loss premium and performance. It shows you that for the last couple of years, we trended very well with our $750,000 cap. And review to see if that's an appropriate level. We feel like that we need a couple more years of information before we modify anything. But it does also speak to the fact that probably over the long term, although we had 2 bad years following the change from $380,000 to $750,000, it appears to be the right move when you look at it over a length of period of time. On the second page, you will see the stop loss renewal and recommendation as presented to the insurance committee, which shows our current individual pooling level of $750,000 with an annual individual stop loss level maximum of $1,250,000. with the same composite rate continuing for the next 12-month period of $7.21 for a policy year premium of $441,685. And this was the recommendation to the insurance committee that was voted on unanimously.
We need to make a motion on that. Do we need to go through all this and for prejudice?
Should be individually.
Individually, I think, because you may have some questions about something else.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. We have a motion to approve the recommendation of the insurance committee.
Second.
Commissioner Baum, further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum? Yes. Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan? Sorry, Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
The second recommendation I'm bringing forward tonight for your consideration is the 2017 dental renewal rates. The recommendation to the committee was to not have any rate or contribution increase on option 1 and 2. However, there would be a 10% rate increase for the option 1 buy-up. The difference between the option 1 and the option 1 buy-up plan is simply the orthodontia benefit. Within the buy-up plan, there is a $2,500 benefit where there's a $1,000 benefit on the regular option 1. What we are seeing is just some adverse selection against that plan, which is why the recommendation is for the increase of 10% there. Individuals are getting that plan, they're getting their braces for their children 19 and under. Once that payment period is done, they're going down to a different option. So the premium is just not balancing the utilization right now.
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer.
Second.
Commissioner Allen, motion to approve the dental rates for 2017 is recommended by the insurance committee. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
The third recommendation is for the 2017 vision renewal rates, which has a 24% increase, which sounds astounding until you look to see that that actually represents just a little over $1 for an individual and over $4 for a family plan. And this is just indicative of the utilization of the insurance plan. When we separated this from the medical plan a few years ago, actuaries made evaluations as to what the participation and utilization rates would be. Those were a little behind, and so this represents somewhat of a catch-up as well.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner P. Motion to approve the vision rate for 2017 as recommended by the insurance committee. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
The last recommendation for your review tonight is on the medical rates for 2017 for both active and retirees. We proposed two different options to the insurance committee. One was an aggregated 6% total across the board with a 1% reduction in contribution for active employees. And the second option that we proposed was a 4% increase on the copay plan, a 13.8% increase for the deductible plan, and a 2% increase for the HRA and post-65 retirees, including a 1% reduction to current contribution for active employees. After discussion and explanation that the purpose of this second recommendation is based on how we see utilization and trending within the different plans, we see quite a spike in utilization on the deductible plans. And as you know, our rates are blended for both active and retirees. If they were freestanding, we would need to look at a percentage of increase in excess of 100% to fully fund the pre-65 retirees as an example. So rather than look at these aggregated or individually as self-sustaining, we've made a recommendation to do option 2, and that's what was voted on by the insurance committee.
Was that a unanimous vote?
I believe that there was one that voted not in favor.
How does this put us in tracking to get where we meant to as far as contributions from the county versus the individual?
We have 4 more years. The ultimate goal was to get to 80% contribution.
This keeps us on track.
And this is,
correct?
this
We-
does
we on
have us on
track.
track, it does. So we have 4 more years.
To
We're
get
at
to
80.
80%.
Yes, sir. And there was some exceptions, and employee only held at 90%, and the HRA is a little different as well.
Sometimes at the bottom of these sheets, you show the total amount, the total increase that will be paid by employees and the total amount that will be paid that's the increase by the county. Do you have those figures?
I don't have the total, I have it with me tonight, I only broke it out on these individual lines here, but I can get that to you. The overall budget that is needed is $67 million projected to fund the insurance plan next year.
And I assume that's about 6% more than it was
Yes, sir.
last year.
That's correct.
I think anybody takes lightly what we're doing here. It affects the lives of our employees and their families, but insurance is a big deal.
Yes, it is.
And I do appreciate Commissioner Allen's service on the insurance committee.
Me too.
I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation.
Motion to approve. Recommendation on the medical option 2 as presented by the insurance committee. Do we have a second?
I'll second it, but then I want to read my little note here because my wife is an employee of Rutherford County. I have a conflict of interest in the proposal about to be voted. However, I declare that my argument and my vote answer only to my conscience and to my obligation to my constituents and to the citizens this body represents. And I do want to make a note that I am not on the county insurance, nor are any other of my family members, unless they're directly working for the county and they have their own policies that way.
Is the county's cost of these plans about the same between option 1 and option 2?
County's cost in terms of what we see in overall claims experience or
Well-
cost share?
Well, I guess the bottom line total figure that the county will be paying.
No, they would differ based on enrollment from a premium perspective only is what you're asking about. It would vary based on the enrollment within the plan. And as you see here, if you'll look at, as an example, on the copay plan, it will tell you in that second column there what the different enrollment is between the two. And so you can see, and your numbers are actually bigger than that. Although they're close, there's still some variance. We have our greatest participation right now, it's 44% in the HRA plan. And what we've seen over the last 5 years is people continuing to migrate, which is both good for the employee and good for the county. It's our lowest cost plan. It gives great benefits to employees, and it has the lowest premium for them as well. So there's been a lot of education and individual counseling with employees to looking at their medical experience that, and their peers. That's the best ones who can vouch for the plan. And so what we see from a trend perspective is that people are moving into more appropriate plans.
And option
each
2,
year.
relative to option 1, provides even more incentive to move into that.
Under this, it does, yes.
And I guess my question is, comparing option 1 to option 2, what is the cost differential for the county?
I don't have that number with me tonight. I have all that information in my office, but I didn't bring it with me tonight.
Is it approximately cost neutral for the county, or is there a difference? Sometimes we look at 3 or 4 plans and the costs are really different for the county.
The copay plan runs slightly less than the deductible plan. The deductible plan runs higher than the copay plan.
I guess
for
I don't
us.
mean between copay and deductible, I mean between option 1 and option 2, because I feel like what we're doing is we're deciding between
It's
option
cost-
1 and
yes,
option 2.
It's cost neutral to the county in terms of the overall aggregated budget, because if we aggregated out the option 2, it's still overall a 6% increase.
Okay.
There would be a slight variance because of the percentage that we pay in proportion to the premium level itself. But as you can see, the numbers aren't wide enough between the two to have a heavy impact.
Could be some very, very small differences,
That's
but it's
correct.
cost neutral
Yes.
for the county between option 1 and
Yes.
option 2.
Yes, I'm sorry,
And the
just
employees seem
understand
to
that.
prefer option 2.
Yes, that's correct. And then one of the other drivers is the blending of the rates, and you had the pre-65s in with the deductible, which really drives those as well.
further questions? I think we're ready to vote. Commissioner Schaefer, do you have something?
No.
Call the roll.
Just a lot of numbers.
Commissioner Allen? Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan? Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. We've done a whole lot of stuff in the last 10 minutes right now.
Have we lost people when, with what we've done recently? And, you know, like last year, pulled off and a
eligibility.
spouse for something like that, if it came.
Yes, so the eligibility change for spouses resulted in 47% of spouses going to their own employer plan.
So that should have reduced our costs, right?
It held our cost at what you see today. If we would have still had that claims activity within the numbers that we reviewed, we may be looking at higher than 6% on an aggregated basis.
Now, you used to give us figure on your report every month down across the bottom about how much we were, what, I don't,
This
is
is
the
what our-
word
The
indebted
GASB.
for?
It's on the net OPEB is what he's
Net
asking
OPEB.
for.
It's generally about, what, 14 million a year, between 11 and 14 million dollars a year.
I think we were somewhere around 56 at the end of last year.
It continued, I mean, it's just gonna
Yeah.
continue to grow.
But I thought eventually it was gonna balance itself out with,
So we made those changes in 2010 is when they were finalized. So you're looking at a 10-year run before you really see the beginning of those impacts. Everyone who's retiring today was grandfathered in. We are just now in discussions with one of our first retirees who may actually retire with medical only, no prescription coverage. So it will be several more years before we start to see that. The action that was taken slowed the process long term, but we won't see that for about 10 years.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
2015 Homeland Security Grant for Emergency Management. Mr. Cass, welcome.
Just to review very quickly, the Homeland Security Grant is an annual thing. The amounts of money is not always the same. The way it works is we're part of Homeland Security District 5. There's 7 counties in that district. I serve on the task force where we do the voting on what we will fund with the federal money that we get as a district. The way the projects come up is there's subcommittees. There's EMS, response, law enforcement, training, and a couple others. And what they do is those subcommittees make their recommendations up to us, and of course we draw the red line based on what we get as a district. The district is kind of leveled off, gets roughly around $650,000 a year, has for the past couple of years. Our amount of that is not always going to be the same. It's going to depend on which projects. And these are projects that are meant to benefit the entire district. This year, there were 3 projects that are based in Rutherford County for a total amount of $75,899. What I'm here to ask y'all to do is allow the mayor to sign the contract, basically. And I know it says 2015 because of the long process, because we have to wait on the federal side of this. It always seems like it's this time of year every year. Because we just did the voting for 2016 2 weeks ago. And it'll be this time next year before I have the contract in my hand. It's just a long process.
What are the 3 items?
The 3 items, the first one is there's $21,550 primarily to purchase a hazmat trailer and portable generator for Laverne, as well as some PPE. There's also $16,129 that's going to be used to replace nerve agent antidote kits with EMS. Those things go bad, they have to be replaced on occasion, and there's a cost associated with that. The third project, which is $38,220, it is for some portable radio accessories and thermal imaging for sustaining CBRN detection and response capabilities. So that's the 3. Pretty well, it always works out where not one city gets it all, the county doesn't get it all. It kind of works out because of the way they do the committees. We have representatives from each city and the county agencies involved to propose these projects each year. So it works out pretty well. Like I said, it varies. just depending on what the project is and how much need there is for it, which is also based on what is seen by as the threat for that year.
So that's going to the Laverne Fire Department?
Yes. Now, what they're going to use it as part of Tennessee Task Force 2, which is your urban search and rescue. That's where the tie-in to the district is. Are they going to use it for Laverne stuff? Of course they are, but when it's needed for that task force, it'll be rolled out along with personnel.
Make a motion to approve the request.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Peak. Any further discussion? That motion did include all the verbiage of the mayor's. That was sign and
The
accept.
second did.
All that good stuff.
I have a question. Once they get the funds, is there some sort of oversight or accountability to make sure
Yes.
that everything's spent the way it's supposed to be spent?
Yes, my office does that, and we are also audited by the state as well. They'll come down, as a matter of fact, we just had an auditor come down and look at a small piece, and I've already gotten their findings back. I think you've already seen them too, sir. You may not remember seeing them.
Don't remember that.
Basically, the only findings they had on us from the last audit was there's some blurb we're supposed to say on all grants now that this money is provided by the taxpayers and all this stuff, and we didn't have that sign hanging, but we do now. So that type of thing happens. So, but I've not seen anybody misuse any of the funds, and there's multiple layers of accountability. Yes, sir.
I said lesson learned.
Yes.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. General fund budget transfer for emergency management.
Yes, sir. We own a few more of these tower sites than we used to. One of our older ones and one of our largest ones is at Lynch Hill. Well, the building at Lynch Hill where all the electronics is housed, we started having problems with the soffit as well as some other things. So we needed to move some money so that we can afford to replace the soffit, pressure wash, and paint the building up there. So that's what I'm here for, is to move that money from communications equipment to the line item maintenance and repair of buildings. And for me, maintenance and repair of buildings only includes the tower sites. My main building is not covered by this. So that's the only thing I spend money on. That's why you don't see a large amount there. But the request increase to cover these costs is $4,300.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Commissioner Baum. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Oh, Mark, I'll leave the original with you.
That's fine. The roads are okay. There's gotta be somebody most left.
And the general fund budget amendment for fire and rescue. Another parley.
I'm not sure which amendment y'all have up first on your.
I'd say it's the
Sale.
same.
Several equipments.
31,000.
As we've taken on these new fire apparatus, we're selling the older ones, surplusing them and taking that money and trying to replace some equipment that's needed on these new trucks. So we sold 3 for a total of $31,311, and we want to put $1,500 in building fund, and then $1,200 in travel, $1,500 in drugs and medical supplies, $1,500 in other supplies and materials, and $25,000 in $790 of other equipment.
Well, one's fire and rescue, one's county fire department.
It's the
They're-
same.
they're
Same
all
thing,
the same.
yeah.
Well, let's just run them all together if there's not any objection.
Okay. And then the other one is to move, we had, when they closed out the account for Walter Hill, they give me a check for $3,400. I want to take that check and then $600 out of big on maintenance to move into building maintenance to replace a HVAC unit that has gone out.
Mr. Jernigan, your motion still good on all that?
Yes.
Second it, but just the 3 vehicles you sold, tell the world what the years were.
They were 25 years old. All of them were 25 years old. So, I mean,
They were due to go.
They're
That's what they
26 years
were
old, when they were 90
Well,
miles.
hey,
when they,
you are correct, Lisa, they're
Yeah.
26 years old now.
Yeah. We have a motion to approve both requests and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
I'd like to ask your approval to authorization to write a SAFER grant for $600,000. It'd be $150,000 per year. This will cover training, training material, books for classes, and a few sets of turnout gear. This training equipment will be utilized across the county for the volunteers and our department also. And the good thing about this is there's no match.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Peak.
Second.
Mr. Jernigan? Any further discussion? Applying for free money is usually easier. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief. General Fund Budget Amendment Transfer for Agriculture Extension. Mr. Tuggle, welcome.
How y'all doing this evening?
Fine, how about yourself?
First thing I have, I want to move, look at moving funds from our rent line, $2,200 to purchase an ice maker for our community center. That ice maker broke and we need to replace it. Cheaper than buy a new than have it replaced. 'Cause last time we had it replaced, we had to send it part from Russia. I mean, it was more than that. So we,
Apart from Russia.
Oh, man.
so we were
No
looking at buying
wonder
a
it
new. So we had to look at buying a new one.
KGB ice maker? It's just, I think we can take both of these at once. If not be objection, if you want to go ahead and proceed
Next, look at to increase our part-time line by $8,000. We did use our part-time people extra this past year in moving those funds from the government contract line and to utilities.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Pete, Commissioner Jernigan, Ms. Nolan, do you start to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted, if it's okay with the committee to fix it, because we need to fix the Social Security and Medicare also. That will go with that 8,000. If
So-
we can adjust that before it gets to the committee. If y'all will allow that, we'll just use the no more than
It's okay,
8,000, but
we can
it'll
make it-
just,
Yeah.
we'll reduce the amount that's in part-time and add to FICA and
That's
social.
fine.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
That's
motion.
okay with the maker of the motion,
Yeah.
a second, and that'll be included in the motion. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to ask a question about that contracts with government agencies. Is the rest of those monies encumbered that are in there? Or, I mean, it's getting near the end of the year.
That pays people, that pays UT and
TSU.
TSU personnel. And so it's quarterly billing, what they do for
Quarter,
that.
so we haven't done the second quarter yet?
We have
Well,
a
they've not
we have
done
a
the second,
vacancy. We have a
third.
vacancy on that
Okay.
line.
Seems like I know a lot of people that would like to have that amount of money left over in a part of their budget.
We do have a, we fortunately have a vacant, or unfortunately, I don't know how to say that. We have a vacancy.
Depends on what
Okay.
city
It's
you're
the
sitting
size,
in.
which day it is. So which day.
Thank you very much. Ambulance fund amendment,
Make sure that doesn't get lost.
I'll take Mr. Mayor, Ms. Nolan, or presume that.
I'll do it. Wait a minute. Let me get to it. Ambulance. Okay.
Two parts of it there.
There are two parts. Okay, they really need funding for their refunds and to pay overtime, of which they're going to be using 15,000 in patient charges to cover their refunds and requesting 75,000 from their their assigned fund balance to take care of the overtime.
And make note that they've collected $54,000 so far this year, so it's not just new money. We are continually getting new money as we support these special events. And they're proposing, he's anticipating collecting $85,000.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Shapley. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. You said we got two things from ambulance out there?
No, it was two
They're both
parts.
together.
Okay, okay.
It was one thing, but two things.
Okay.
75 was another.
General fund budget amendment for the sheriff's office. Mr. Russell.
Oh, he's right behind me, so. Good evening.
Sheriff Arnold, well,
How are y'all?
fine.
So tonight, we'd like to recognize some revenue from JAG grant that's shared with the city of Murfreesboro. Total was $30,955, and we'd like to put that in our communication equipment line item on the sheriff's office side. We'll be running radios with that. We had the Christmas parade, we'd gotten, we won the parade float on that, so we won $300 as prize money. We're going to put that back in our repair and maintenance on the buildings, the detention side. We've had insurance recovery funds come in for vehicles that have been totaled, totaling $5,985. We're going to put that in our new vehicles line item on the sheriff's office budget. We're pulling $12,000 out of maintenance repaired vehicles and also $12,000 out of vehicle parts because the prisoner clothing line item on the jail side needs some funds to finish out the year. And so they came to me and said $24,000 should cover it for the year, so that's we'd like to make that amendment as well. And then the last one is we're pulling $15,000 out of our utilities line item because we're ahead of the curve on that for this year, as well as gasoline, and then a request for $452,066 out of undesignated to go to data processing equipment.
Break that.
Unless you can break that out
Yeah,
separately.
break that like we did public safety.
Okay, okay. So I have just the first four amendments, and then we can talk about the last one.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Motion Commissioner Schaefer, Commissioner Jernigan to approve the first four budget amendments. Any further discussion on those? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Okay. Continue to number 5.
Okay. So I'll repeat then, we're ahead of the curve on the utilities and gasoline, so we're pulling $15,000 each out of those, and we're putting in a request for $452,066 out of undesignated. We want to put that in our data processing equipment line item on the sheriff's office side to pay for CAD software for the sheriff's office, which is a very much needed
Computer-aided
software.
dispatch.
Yeah. And we've got Chief Lowry here.
Excellent.
So say if
You can go and they can come on
and let them come up and they can explain it, because they're the
Just like we did the other day.
And just make note while they're coming up, once we pay for this, $230,670 is a grant that will be received to offset, so 482 is really $250,000 basically that the county's piece of this CAD software will be required.
History on that, about 2 years ago, I went to 911 and asked for a grant to replace our computer-aided dispatch and to try to start the process on replacing our entire software system. Some of y'all know our software system is older than a lot of people in this county. It's what?
I think it was 98.
98. So before version AOL 1.0. Very antiquated. We have lots of problems. A lot of the data we give y'all a lot of times we hope is correct because it's the best to our knowledge at the time. So we are starting down this process, and this is like a three-legged stool. This is the first leg in the stool. After this will come the RMS and then the JMS. So we come to you with this request. I've been able to get a grant for at least half of it. So here's our request.
Well, let's let Captain Frost, Chief Lowry, get through and explain it in layman's terms, what this can do.
Sorry, you have to go through this again.
Yeah. Well, it helps.
What we're dealing with the CAD software being as old as it is, we're running into issues with the information we're retrieving from that software being, for lack of better words, and just to keep it simple, it's corrupt. Some of the data that we get out of there is corrupt. The other side of it is we're unable to generate statistics and things of that nature that we would be able to give to you if you called us and said how many calls for service, time of day, day of week, month, year, and our calls for service volumes, so that we can allocate proper responses. With CAD, now I'm going to try to stick to CAD as much as possible. The CAD product allows us to designate a direct response for call types, and it keeps you from sending too many units or too little units. And on certain call types, for instance, a domestic, it's going to tell you what units you send, and it's going to tell you which units you send, because it's going to know where they are. It's going to know who's going to backfill to. If I take 2 units and I send them to a domestic, it knows who backfills to cover that zone, so that we don't leave any particular zone uncovered and without protection. For instance, since we dispatch for fire as well, it's going to know if we have I think I used the reference of a dumpster fire, it's going to notify the fire chief and maybe one unit, one particular response engine to go and put that fire out. If it were something much more like a structure fire, it's going to notice them it's going to recommend that they send certain battalions. If it's a certain type of building, if it's a multi-story building, it's going to recommend sending an engine and a ladder truck, probably a tanker. So it knows based on its response how these things do. And it takes away all the guesswork and once the officer gets on scene, he sees what's going on, then he has to call and let the fireman know, hey, I need you guys may need to bring this. It takes all the guesswork out of it. It makes things respond much faster. It makes us more efficient within both sides as far as law enforcement and fire. It lets us put in a little bit more information, which is something I didn't touch on, was site dangers. The dispatchers can actually pull up information from previous responses to a residence. If we've had a domestic at a residence, or we've made an arrest in the past and they've taken a weapon off from someone, and they've had to take that weapon and take it into safekeeping order. What I'm getting at is, before you respond, you already know what you're walking into, and there are informations about this. If there's already drug information on that house, or we've made drug arrests in a house, they can give that information or give these things. If we're looking for certain people, with if the detectives want to put a marking in CAD on a response to a residence where you might have a wanted subject, then that's actually going to come up in CAD as well. So you have all these other features.
Dog.
And,
Any
kind of site danger or things that you need to be on guard for. What we've run into is trying to derive information from this system to come up here and bring to you. And I look for very, very valid statistics, and we're trying to build a data analytics division that we can actually get in here and pull this information out of. We went to another class recently on this, and the main concept behind this, in order for me to come up here and give you viable, plausible information, I have to know I've given you something good. And with what we have right now, it just simply isn't something I can stand behind and say it's good data. I wish I could. And I know that you reach out to us as a commission, as part of the entire body, governing body. You ask for statistics and things of that nature. We give you the best we can give you, and that's all we can tell you. But please know there's a caveat in that sometimes it's just not good what we're getting in there. And we talked about this the other night and said, look, we can continue trying to build this CAD and dumping money into something that's and I can give you analogies about what we've had, but I don't need to. As software progresses, technology has to be replaced. What you find is that technology has outgrown the ability to run it on these platforms anymore. The particular software that we're running, it was written for 32-bit systems, which I'm going to say is anything prior to Windows XP, earlier than that. Now we've had to make, and John has made a great deal of effort to make sure that this works with a programmer, to make sure that we can run it on Windows 7 just to stay compliant, because we're also bound by what's called Criminal Justice Information Systems rules that we have, guidelines that they make us stay within. When we get to a software level that is no longer compliant, that's when we can actually be audited by the FBI and TBI, and they can come in and actually have findings, because we're not running systems that can be updated for security reasons. We can't run antiviruses and to run the software updates that you see on Windows all the time, those are no longer being pushed out for certain platforms, such as in Windows XP. So these are all things that have had to happen in the last couple of years. This is going to be something that when we start these phases, and I'll try to summarize, when we start these phases with CAD, this is a 3-part process is what we're looking at doing over a period of time. The first leg of this is the CAD product, and this is where you start collecting that first piece of information, that data that comes in, and whether or not it's a self-initiated piece of information that an officer makes a traffic stop and starts collecting that information, or if it's dispatched, whether someone makes a call and we send it out. That's the first place we start collecting information in the system. As the processes go, the RMS that the sheriff mentioned is called records management software, and that's where it goes from there. Once that initial contact is made and the report is made, or the actual complaint report is made to respond somewhere, then the officers get on scene or the fire get on scene, and they begin taking their incident reports. The incident reports, in many times, can be an incident report, an accident report, things of that nature, a general information type report, or it can be something, for instance, a burglary took place, and at that point, you're going to hand it off to the next module, which is going to be something along the lines of case management, where the detectives get involved, they start working the cases, and then at some point they're going to file a warrant, they're going to actually take out a warrant. That's going to be also in that system. You'll be able to see it in there. And then you'll have the arrest aspect, and then the booking as the third part. That comes in the next module. The booking comes in once you get into the JMS, the jails management software, and that's what keeps track of everything you do with classifying these inmates, how you keep them, what their charges are, what their previous, if they've been in, we have some, and we can look at things such as recidivism and see if they've been there numerous times, and that's something that I'll go back to in just a moment. These are, again, this is a three-part process, and the information that we're collecting is something that's shared through each of these. It will also be shared over the platform. This is something that's already in place in Murfreesboro. The city of Murfreesboro has been running TriTech software for quite some time and already have an existing product there they're upgrading currently.
Proven.
It's a proven platform. There are large, I can give you numerous in the state and out of the state, all over the country, of places where it's installed. I know that Montgomery County is about to buy it. I know that it's installed in Washington County, Sullivan County, in Tennessee anyway, and then places as big as, oh Lord,
Memphis.
Memphis is looking at it, I think they're running a piece of it. But you got larger cities that run this, and then large installations that run this.
Dallas, California Highway Patrol, they run this.
Our EMS will be running this.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. EMS is running as their CAD, yeah. And
that's another thing. I'm sorry, Chief.
No, you're fine.
That's another thing is data sharing. We have the capability now with moving forward with this particular system that we would be tying into Murfreesboro. We would have a backup site at their facility and vice versa. Like Sheriff mentioned, left brain, right brain.
Fail over.
We work on
Both
our
directions.
side, they work on our side, and it all collects and ties back in together. EMS will be tied into the Murfreesboro portion side of it, but that gives the dispatchers the ability, say our dispatcher takes a call, cellular call, it ends up being the city's jurisdiction, but an ambulance call. As soon as they type that information, oh, okay, well, it's a city, they dump it. All that information they just typed in back over to the city or EMS, and it gets populated, so they don't have to waste time
Place
asking
another
those
call.
same
It's a
questions.
click of a mouse instead of a ring down going, hey, we're transferring this call over to you. And that takes 2 or 3 minutes, just a click of a mouse and the information's gone.
With me being the director of IT over at the sheriff's office, I hear daily and nightly too sometimes from dispatchers having issues of the software shutting off on them, or they type a full completed complaint card out and the system kicks them out and they have to redo it all over again. Dispatch, if y'all have ever been in there, is the most
it's hectic.
It's the most
That's putting
hectic
it mildly.
office I've ever been in personally. I used to work there. I worked in it for 4 years. Did not like it. I actually had to leave because it was stressing me out. So to alleviate some of the stresses off of these dispatchers that have to take these type of calls, and at some point in time go to the next generation of 911, which would also...
That's going to take a lot of their time, and if you guys have had any chance to hear about what next generation 911 is going to entail and what's coming, and just so we can talk about it too, there is a pre-existing interface to one of the other cities' products that they're running, and the other city's about to buy a court package as well, so we'll also be able to interface into it. It's called SunGuard, it's what Smyrna's running. And there's a pre-existing interface between TriTech and SunGuard. We know it's already been
So we'll
written.
be able to plug right in.
Try
with
to
Smyrna.
share data, more data sharing.
With their warrants, with Smyrna, they have their own warrants division. We have our warrants, but right now we have to call each other. With this, it'll be plugged in. They'll be able to see all our information, read only. We'll be able to see their information, read only. This is going to revolutionize public safety in Rutherford County.
Well, the judicial system too, because we
yes.
could tie into the judicial system.
Eventually, it will be tied back into the new probation. They'll be able to get the information. Also, the district attorney's office and public defender's office will be able to get this type of information. So this is our first step forward in basically revolutionizing the judicial system in Rutherford
As we
County.
move forward with the special courts and the probationary aspect and the pretrial release program and these other things, and to hopefully at some point get that program rolling where we're going to be saving some costs based on the number of days we're housing people and things of that nature that we're passing on. In order to save those costs, if we look at this in the long run and are able to institute that pretrial release program that we've been looking under the guide of the deputy mayor, if this happens, this will allow them to categorize and classify and assess these people as they come into the jail at some later point. And that gives you, if that person is an escape risk, if they're a flight risk, or something like that, if they just don't show up in court and they're a risk to be let out for probation, then obviously this is something that they need access to as well. And so if you find out and you have someone show up that is eligible for Veterans Court, for the drug court, if you find out that you can identify that this person you just arrested has an addiction, then obviously you need to make sure that they're noted that they need to go through these other court processes. The same thing goes if it allows you to screen them for medical need, psychological need, if they're a suicide risk, if they're all these different things that we deal with, if they're a gang affiliate and you don't want to put this gang with this gang in the same pod. So obviously this is stuff that can actually keep from having further concept of legal battles that we just really don't want to fight. So. And I've said this for many years, and I don't think that I've ever said it to Sheriff, but when I look at this big picture from the litigious nature of the way society is now, if you can deploy a product and upgrade a product to save you one large court battle, then you've paid for the product.
Yes.
So and that's the way I look at it.
And again, this is just module one that, like Jeff was talking about.
We're starting
just
into
dispatch.
one step. And then we're gonna
There
move
is a
forward.
process and there is a flow of data, and dispatch is the first place it starts. So
The
in
other
future,
modules-
we'll be doing this spiel again with records management and jail management.
The other modules we're actively, and I say we, I'm going to say that Lisa and I know that the mayor and the deputy of the mayor have been talking about looking at grants for other pieces of this, and hopefully that's where we're going to be able to go with that. I'd really like to see that happen, because this is something that's going to be shared, like the sheriff said, between the courts, the court clerks, the defense attorneys, the public defender's office, the Jennings, the general, and the judges can all have access to pieces of this to help make their jobs a whole lot easier. We had a group come in and talk to us from another state, and when they talked about the data sharing infrastructure that they had across the state and the capability that they have, it's mind-boggling. And to have had experience working within an area and within an agency that you had access to CAD records, courts records, warrants, arrest records, every other kind of other record that you can have, from everything from a juvenile record all the way down, and then back into the and fires records for that matter, everything that the fire department did for responses and incident reports, everything that they did, and then the NCIC stuff to the state and the fusion center to the federal government, all on one machine. You can get a whole lot of work done sitting in one spot doing one thing.
I've got a question.
Sir.
And all this sounds great, and I do really appreciate the grant you come up with for $230,000 of it, but the rough math in my head is if we approve this at next Thursday night's commission meeting, that's approximately 75 days from when we pass our budget for next year. This is a $500,000 expenditure. Why are we not doing it in the budget for next year? Will this grant expire? I mean, because I know it's an 18-year-old system that needs replacing, but this is a major
The
expenditure.
grant's through
to be coming in.
911, so it would have to be, from my understanding, it will have to be reapplied for. But that grant will actually come after that money will come after the fiscal budget completion.
Mr. Mayor, did you?
Well, no, I wasn't gonna say, we'll have to spend the whole amount of money and we won't get this reimbursement. I mean, it's gonna take several months to install this.
Yes, sir.
We just usually look at these major expenditures within the budget.
Well, and
parameters
that's
of the
what,
budget, and
that's what I was gonna address.
We're sitting right on top of budget.
I put this
you
in
know.
the budget last year, and then it got pulled out. And then we talked about coming back halfway through, and we were gonna come back about September and talk about this, and it got pushed back and pushed back. So now we're here, and we've got the RMS, and the JMS is already in our budget that we have proposed to bring to y'all here in a couple of weeks. So,
Well, the bottom line is, initially, there was a thought that the grant could probably cover most, if not
Right.
all of this money.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
After much further review and discovery by the, Steve at the 911
Yes.
office, it was determined this is all that they can by statute, you might say approve. So the assumption was when all this was actually.
It wasn't gonna cost the
It wasn't
county
gonna cost the
much.
county anything.
Right.
The county has already invested in the hardware. The server has been purchased, paid for. That was in the budget.
Those were
But
the
we
notes-
didn't have any software money in the budget.
I was gonna ask about, because those were the notes that I had, because I've got the notes from CAD, RMS, James, so
Right.
I wasn't surprised necessarily when I saw that. I knew what that step was gonna be. But I remembered when we talked about this last time, part of the reason we didn't put it in this year's budget was because we weren't ready for it. We had just bought the software, just bought the hardware,
The
we were just
hardware.
beginning to implement all that.
Yes, ma'am.
We weren't ready for it. And so we knew, and I don't remember September, I remember saying, we would come back at the next budget cycle and look at it again, because there's also, isn't there a $63,000 annual maintenance fee that goes along with this?
After a year from implementation.
Except the next time.
Okay, so we'll have that, and then we'll also have the RMS and JMS added to that as well. So it's not just,
Well, the RMS and JMS is
no, he said
step
it's in his
two.
budget, no, he said it's in his budget
I've
for
got
next
it
year
in
if
his-
it
It's
gets
in his
approved.
budget
Yeah.
request.
Yes,
Right.
it's in my request.
Yeah.
I still gotta get through
But
it.
that's the second and third leg of that
Right.
stool.
Yes.
Right. This will be, part of this is gonna be a shared concept as part of, for instance, the training, some of the funding in this, particularly, I'll just use it in reference, $25,000 of that is training and travel for the company to come in here. And that's gonna be shared, and it's already been, and we've broken that apart to where 75-25, because we're gonna need more training than Mercerboro does. They're about to do an upgrade. So we'll absorb 75% of that $25,000 worth of training. Mercerboro's gonna pick up the $6,250. So, that's where they're going.
We're doing this
So
in
we're
conjunction.
balancing this as best we can and sharing the responsibility of it, so.
Well, we had talked about in the past a consolidated dispatch system,
Yes, sir.
and I don't see EMS here. So I'm kind of curious as to what's going on there and why they don't have a say on what's going on with this.
Sir, they have already spoken with,
I don't see them here today.
yeah,
Do you?
they were here previously, and they've already spoken with, they're actually ahead of us. They've already purchased licenses, and they're working with Bill Terry at
And
Mercerboro
they received a
to do
grant,
this.
just like we did, from 911 for a portion
So
of
they,
this.
they already have their.
They're waiting on us,
Yeah.
basically.
Their CAD, I mean, they're already ahead of this process with respect to EMS.
The mayor got a grant for them last year, year
It's
before.
it's been a couple of years.
I've got a follow-up question. Did I hear you correctly that if we don't approve this right now, we will lose the grant? That pushing this back 1 month to the budget hearings will?
I was listening to that, I didn't hear that
I
myself.
kind of was listening for it, but
The 911 board will probably have to reapprove. They'll have to go through it and
But
do it again.
there's no red line in the sand, spend this by X, but you're not gonna get it spent before July 1st anyway.
The only problem you're gonna run into is if it pushes farther into the fiscal year with the 911 board, and I know this because of personal information. This will come into their, if it comes, since they're gonna pay after the beginning of the fiscal year, that will go roll them into their next year. Now, what happens there? They just dropped, the 911 board just dropped $997,000 on the next generation deployment of software and phones for the new 911 systems that went in there. And what will happen, we have to be very careful not to put them in a bind so that they get a finding, because if they go in the red because of putting money out more than what they're taking in, and that's what they're gonna have to meet with. Matter of fact, I know they're meeting very soon to discuss that. So we have to make sure, I don't wanna put them in a bind either.
Mr. Mayor?
I don't know. We'd have to check to see if there's any changes been made from Mr. Smith, the 911 board. But we had a major communications grant of like $1.2 million. It took us, we still haven't spent all the money yet, have we?
Yeah, it's almost gone.
It's almost gone. Over 3 or 4 years, we've had this grant outstanding and we haven't been able to spend all the money. So I don't see any reason why they can't carry it from one fiscal year to another, basically, the approval that they've already made.
Can I comment real quick? I'm sorry. A lot of this, and I know y'all haven't been talking to Murfreesboro Police because I've been talking to them, but I've been speaking with Bill Terry, and a lot of this was a joint effort with Murfreesboro, City of Murfreesboro. If y'all have ever had to implement something between two governments, it's very difficult. They are actually, it's kind of a joint effort. They're getting an upgrade out of this to the current system. We are starting brand new at the current system. If TriTech were, and that's the company that we're looking into, if TriTech was to start us off as a brand new agency,
It's gonna cost
it's
more.
going to cost more.
And
The
it's
way
gonna
that we
put
had
Murfreesboro
set it up
behind
and
it doesn't
requested is that our data be stored offsite on their facilities and their data on ours, so there's a good redundancy there. They're upgrading, whether we go with it or not, but if we don't choose to do this at the same time, it's gonna cost more than what it is right now.
It's gonna cost Murfreesboro City more, it's gonna cost the county more.
And in their mind, you don't think 60 days, 75 days is at the same time?
Murfreesboro's
They've
ready.
been ready to
they've been
go
ready
for
to
a
go
couple of
for-
months.
They're actually, and I got an email if you'd like to see it, they're actually getting heat from the TriTech people to go ahead and finish out, and they're waiting on us. They still are waiting on us because they're actually in a, because of an interlocal agreement, they're gonna, and then because of this, they're actually getting calls from the finance department from them saying we need to go ahead and get this done on their end, so, and they're holding off for us. They're being nice enough to do that for us.
I just
this
think we
time.
could have a conversation with TriTech. Most people who are fixing to get $450,000 are reasonable people,
Mhm.
and I think we could get.
But
into the next
Murfreesboro's
budget cycle.
ready to move.
Yeah, yeah. But TriTech's the one that is potentially changing the price.
Well, they might
Their
change the
costs
prices.
go up, they're probably a little flexible too.
Now-
A lot of it's implementation, because they're gonna have to be on site to install and train and all that. The thought was to have them here at the same time so they could be working with us and Murfreesboro concurrently versus them having to work with Murfreesboro and then maybe a couple months later come back and work with us. It just, again, it just costs more in the long
Now,
run. I
is
think.
is there an interlocal agreement? I mean, this money, I believe, is paid to Murfreesboro, who then pays TriTech.
Correct. That is
So,
correct.
I mean, it's a joint venture kind of process.
So the money flows through Murfreesboro.
Money flows
Right.
through Murfreesboro, and it could change, I mean, because it is a joint venture that's happening at the same time. Let me say this, and usually I don't get into some of your thought processes, but this piece, this CAD piece, we need to do it, we must do it, and this approach for bringing this common CAD system to Murfreesboro and Rutherford County and the EMS is really, really beneficial. I don't think, if we put this off, I think you're gonna still say we need to go ahead and do this. I don't see any reason not to go ahead and do this personally right now. I think you'll have a huge amount of debate about what you're gonna do about step 2 and 3.
How much difference in the pay? I've heard that about 4 times that it's gonna cost us more. How
We don't
much
know.
more is it gonna cost us?
We don't know
We'd
exactly.
have to have it requoted.
They would have two
It would be
rooms
requoted.
and board, you know, they had to come back here. We don't know exactly. But you think for any company to come back twice to do something, they're gonna charge you for it, and it's not.
I can
gonna
give you an
cheap.
example of another agency that I think Mark would remember this one. When SunGard in Smyrna was getting to the point where they had to be upgraded, and we basically kept the product going on an older platform. We kept the product going for quite some time, and I went out to get quotes and looked at that. And this particular company was nice enough with us. They were going to give us an incredible break because we've been with them at the time for 25 years. And as an existing company, they were going to give us a break. But I mean, understanding the economic situation at the time, a lot of cities around here just did not simply have the money. They couldn't do it. And they wound up putting it off a little bit farther. And we were looking at certain modules of the upgrade were going to be 5% of cost, which is an amazing deal. But they still simply couldn't do it. They didn't have the funds at the time to do it. And they wound up holding off. And then the next upgrade, they wound up paying for the OSSI product with SunGard, considerably greater number of, amount of money to do their upgrade. Unfortunately, and it was just a timing issue. They couldn't do it at the time. I understand that. That's part of it. One of the other things to look at is being able to get a project in play and getting a project to go live, and you're on a timeline. And it would be really beneficial to be able to get this project up within about 6 months, and so that you have not a fiscal year go live, but a calendar year go live. So that when you do approach and say, okay, I need all your statistics for 2017, I actually have an entire 2017 to give you. And we can actually start pulling those stats. And it's good to start. I've seen places that have kicked off and gone live on June the 16th, and then you start trying to figure out, you've got partial data, partial months, and then directly after that they went live with their RMS a couple months later, and then it becomes a problem. So you try to time things out properly.
And again, and I understand y'all's position. This is a delay. I get it. We're here later in the year. 2 reasons for that, and main reason was the contract between Murfreesboro and City and TriTech. That took a long time for them to review. Once they got that established, then they started the interlocal agreement between us and then, for draft purposes. And then we're looking at the other issue was like Sheriff or Mayor said, I can't remember. It was talking to Steve Smith. We had to nail down what was fundable. Because it was, again, under the assumption that the entire software project was. But we found out after multiple meetings with you,
Yes.
me, Deputy Mayor.
And Bill Terry, and even
And Bill Terry
even
and
Randy
Steve
White from
Smith, Randy
EMS
White,
came out
yeah.
and met with us too.
We found a good number that they could fund. Because there were pieces to it that they could not.
There are certain pieces that the TECB, the Tennessee Emergency Communications Board, they are governed by a Tennessee code, a law that says there are only pieces of this can be funded by, or certain pieces of this can be funded, and there are certain ways that they can't do it. If we were consolidated, and for instance, the ECD, the Emergency Communications District Office did all the dispatching, then you could just about pay for 100% of this. But that's not the case. That we don't have that. So, and then there are other pieces. And basically, the best way it was put, and the best phrase I heard was from Steve Smith himself. He said, "If it comes through the 911 pipe, we can pay for it. If it doesn't, we simply can't." So,
I believe also Commissioner Schaefer can speak from public safety standpoint, bringing it on to y'all and a unanimous vote.
Yeah. It is, what we're seeing is, all we're talking about really is June 30th versus July. And it's something we don't normally do, is put big money out of the unassigned fund balance.
Well, all of a sudden, instead of arguing about adding this to next year's budget, this is already in next year's budget. We moved to second number, the second leg of the stool, or maybe the third leg of the stool, and we're kind of leapfrogging, in my opinion, a whole piece of the budget. But you know, it just kind of sets a bad precedent. So we don't usually come in and put $500,000 items in the budget in the last 2 months of the budget.
But this is something
How
that
much is
it's kicked around for years.
Yeah.
I mean, even before serious stuff came
But
about it.
the second and the third leg of the stool, how much money ballpark are we talking on each one of them? And did they both need to come
1.2.
simultaneously?
1.2,
1.2.
705 and 518.
And they need to come
Respectively,
together?
one behind
No.
the other.
They
No,
don't
sir,
have
they do
to
not.
come
No,
together.
so they don't have to come together.
You-
What we're hoping to do is start this project. Hopefully this will be done, let's say by October 1, and then we plan on, either it's in our budget and we start the next leg of it, or if it's not, then we'll come back like we are now and say, hey, we've done this. We can show you it's done, and can we ask for it, the other leg out of undesignated again?
One of the other pieces of this, and we talked about it at public safety and haven't really touched on it tonight, is the fact of how the upkeep on this thing. And we're having difficulty keeping the person that we had contracted to come in and do these things. He's actually taken a job now. He has his own full-time job that he has to deal with. So we're secondary, and we understand that, but it's difficult to keep the system going, and it's such an old, it's an antiquated language that this is written in on an antiquated platform. So there's old guys like me out there that do this. I don't do that type of code. I'm an IBM guy, but you have to have a specialist come in to be able to do these, make these changes in the system. And unfortunately, this is the only guy that's been working on it off and on for a while, and now he's really hard to get a hold of. So we're actually at a point right now where we're talking to other people to find out we need help, and we've actually reached out, and the mayor, and we have spoken about OIT, maybe some of their, if they've got some professionals that can kind of help us and resource. We're looking at anything just to keep this thing going.
Just keep
Because we're really worried that maybe the next day we may not have something we walk in the door.
And here's the issue, and I know I've told y'all this before in full commission, but the errors that we're getting are not just dispatch. Dispatch has a lot of errors, but records management has a lot of errors. Detectives, warrants, they have errors every day. I got stacks of paperwork this high as this book. But
TBI was just in this past week doing
Right.
their normal audit. FBI did theirs last year, and we've got a lot of errors when it comes to stuff, and they're dinging us pretty hard this year, and they could potentially, I don't think it's coming, but they could shut us down.
Commissioner Turner?
I just want to ask the mayor, Mr. Mayor, you think we ought to go ahead with this?
Okay, where we're sitting tonight, we should have been sitting here 3 or 4 months ago, okay? And a couple of these circumstances have taken us too long. We need to get on with installing this system. I mean, I really think, I'm thinking about current problems that they've identified well, but if we don't get a system in place that will help us do what we're calling pretrial release or pretrial diversion, it's a tool we're going to have to put in place, a process we're going to have to put in place to minimize and postpone adding to a jail. I mean, it's so, I think this is an underlying principle that really we just really need to, we should have already been to this point. And for various reasons it didn't occur. We're sitting here behind the eight ball even right now. This is not going to solve all these other problems they're talking about, having a tool in place that'll do correctly things such as pretrial diversion, and we can have good information to work from. This is just a start.
This is just the first step in a long
And
journey.
we got to start. And the good thing about it, it's compatible with Murfreesboro. I mean, we're going to have really good working relationships, good backup. They can see everything on our screen. We can see everything on their screen. It helps their whole response. It improves that immensely. So I don't know. It's sort of a matter of semantics. Now, when we talk about this $1.2 million, and that's going to take a whole lot more discussion, a whole lot more thought even on my process. What I wanted to do, and I've already told them this, I want them to go ahead and get this done and show success in putting in a major improvement to our system before we make a hard determination to go on with the next $1.2 million.
Right.
So we have to start, and they got to perform, and we've got to get going with really putting something in place that's credible and works.
You said this won't help you with the pretrial diversion, that won't help with the
No,
probation?
we're not ready. It's going to take step 3.
That would come.
Yeah.
We
that
have
would
to
come
start
the
somewhere.
days.
Every
Right,
month or
right.
every 3 months or every 6 months we put this off, we're that much further away.
I was just curious which step it was coming in. It's coming
Yeah,
in.
This information will obviously later flow into that, but right now it's fixing.
I hate to take it out of ending fund balance. I understand all that. We won't spend nearly all this much money. We're not going to write a check for $482,000. It's written out over a scheduled
There's
period of time.
milestones.
Yes, sir.
There are milestones, so even though we have this budgeted, we won't spend it this current, so it'll wind up in ending fund balance.
30 of that's
Well-
coming out of their budget and 230 is coming from 911.
Now, we won't
so
get to
it's-
230 yet though, Mr. Jordan, until we pay the whole
project
money
is
up
But we will
front.
get that back. So
Yes,
this ends up
sir.
being a
A
220,
reimbursement.
240 expenditure. or
Yes, sir.
something.
We're looking at this as again, and I'm not going to beat to death, but as the step process. And to us, we're prioritizing. Our statutory duty is to protect life and property. This is going to help us protect life and property. As we grow this system, it's going to allow these other aspects to come to bear and give us these other resources to use for everyone's.
Right.
But between police, fire, EMS, and the courts, and anybody else we can help with it. This is not something that we don't want for ourselves. We want to help as many people in this county grow as best we can.
This is also going to help Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Laverne, who we all represent. And this is going to be the first step in a huge,
We want to share data, but we can't share what we
No.
got because we don't even trust it.
Well, I feel better knowing that the 1.2 isn't coming to us in 2 weeks.
Right,
Oh,
right,
sir.
right, right.
You know, as soon as we start the budget process, if they're gonna have to get this up and running and a track record before the mayor advances it, then that helps my, I'm sorry.
And they are working diligently to explore other avenues to help fund that
Right.
part as well.
So
Grants
how
as
much
well.
you gonna ask for out of new hardware to
Har-
make this compatible
hardware's
with the rest
done.
of
We've
it?
already
Y'all already
bought all
purchased-
that.
y'all
Just
already
our
purchased that.
dispatch, there's nothing in
No,
any
no,
of
no,
your
no,
other
that-
offices.
that's
for the
hardware.
entire system. Yeah,
That
we've already
hardware
bought it.
covers all of those
three.
servers. We decided to build it ready for that.
Louder.
Now, I was just gonna ask, you've mentioned several times about the integration with Murfreesboro, and you said it's gonna help Smyrna and Laverne. How will that be? Is it-
Interfaces.
To allow them to look at our warrant. That's one of the main things, ma'am, they always ask for, you know, and us, unfortunately, we in Smyrna can't share our warrant data right now. So it's constantly a dispatcher on the phone calling back and forth, and even officers calling into dispatch to find out, or calling the warrants office to find out. And one of the burdens that Smyrna has to bear is that in the afternoon, say it's like 1:30 in the afternoon, when the ladies go home that work in the records division up front in the warrants office, and the warrants office closes, dispatch becomes warrants. And that's where all that, I'm sure you've been there.
So is this web-based so that? the
It can be,
information-
yes, ma'am, there's a web interface to it. And in Smyrna's dispatch, you know, when you're standing there looking at the big screens in the console, all those cabinets that were behind you, those are all Smyrna's general session warrants. So those folks have to take over that responsibility in the evening and take care of that aspect. So they bear an extra burden, and it switches, and they've just upgraded to a new software product to help them have a little more time. The next gen is just another added factor. It is another responsibility they're having to deal with now. So we're just trying to help them.
The interfaces exist currently. We would just, once we get to a point where we say, okay, we're set up, we're good, we're going, everything looks good, we talk to Smyrna and say, okay, let's set up an interface now, let's start communicating and then move our data back and forth.
And Laverne as well?
Laverne is
The
a different
Laverne
story.
is a whole different story.
That's one that when I was there as
Stay
assistant
on,
chief,
let's stay on.
Wait,
we worked on a project.
We're kind of
They've got some
Yeah, yeah.
milestones.
Back.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. We've got
Yes.
is there any part of y'all's conversation we need to know about? Because y'all
Okay,
got
this-
this conversation
Got
Two
going.
pieces of this conversation, sort of. First of all, this interlocal agreement that has been drafted and drawn, it has not been executed. If you approve this, you need to approve the execution of the interlocal agreement with this, so we can actually fund the money and hand it over to Murfreesboro. I mean, that was point number one. Now, you can talk about point number.
Point two was, is it better to account for this in the general fund or transfer the money over to our capital projects fund and account for it there with the payout? But if you think, either way, I think it will do, you'll issue a purchase order to the city of Murfreesboro for the whole amount, and then it will be paid out
As
along the
milestones.
way.
There are time frames within the interlocal agreement. yes.
Generally, we try to, just so that we don't have to come back and appropriate money for a project that goes over more than 1 year, we generally move it over to capital projects and account for it that way. But if you think this is gonna be done and paid out by next fiscal year, I'm okay with it being here.
Okay, by the end of June 30, 2017.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, this piece here will be paid
Paid out
out
in September.
in this calendar year.
We're gonna commit to it, issue the PO before the June, and it's gonna.
The thought is, once we get started, it would be 6 months, probably earliest, to 9 months latest, I would say.
Well, if this motion, if this were to move forward here at the full commission, that would give staff a week to make sure if this needs to be tweaked. If this is forwarded to the full commission,
Well, I'm good
if we
with
need
it
to
being,
change the.
I'm good with it being here, because I think it's gonna be a short time frame.
Time-wise, it's short enough.
We've chased this rabbit around the barn a couple of times already, so Mr. Pete.
We recently, I say recently, last couple of years, we had a problem with some other software. And we put some things in place, I assume, through our IT office to take care of that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Has our IT office looked at this particular software?
Not in specific, no.
Thought EMS already had it, or somebody already had it.
EMS has the CAD system.
Murfreesboro has it.
They're piggybacking with Murfreesboro.
Yeah. So this isn't something that's out there coming from.
This is
not-
not.
Murfreesboro's been
not
using
a-
this since
We could
2007.
look at it certainly, but it is
Not-
a
they've been on
proven
9
proven product.
Yeah.
Not different.
Murfreesboro's been using it for
I kind of heard
years.
that last time.
2007.
Spent about $1 million on software.
Oh, that's
That
not
was-
bad.
That was somebody
They were
totally
recreating
totally
it.
different.
That's
Wheel
correct.
that all the time.
Okay. I guess we can call for a question here, can't we?
We don't have a motion.
No motion.
You got a motion to call for a
I was
question?
gonna make the motion as soon as I call for a question. I think we've gone around on about every question we can ask. But I will make a motion that we approve this CAD package and the interface with, and agreement with the city of Murfreesboro and TriTech.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'd like to see this in the New Year's budget.
Well, that would be a no vote to this motion, I believe, or an amendment to the motion that's on the floor, if you saw fit. We have a motion. The motion is to proceed with this immediately, move that to the commission. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
No.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passes.
And if y'all would get the interlocal agreement to Lisa and or Mark so they can attach that with the action before the commission.
We've got one more, but Mr. Frost and Chief Lowry, don't mean to beat you guys up, but this time of year, we get a little protective of our ending fund
And
balance.
Completely
I
understand.
fully understand, and I appreciate everybody's patience and dealing with it.
I appreciate y'all asking questions.
Yeah.
Authorization to apply for a SCAAP grant for the sheriff's office. Sheriff, or you or Mr. Russell, somebody gonna do that?
I just dropped mine down.
I'm here.
It's on the iPad right there too.
Come back.
I don't know, 14 on the iPad.
So this is a grant that is for housing aliens, and it ends up being between $3,000 and $4,000 a year. We just want your permission to apply for it. There's no matching funds.
Mr. Jernigan,
Second.
second Mr. Baum. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No money, I don't think so. We'd have to call a roll.
We
and
get
do
3
it.
or 4,000. We get a
Call
little
a
bit
roll.
of money to
Call a
house
roll,
them.
yeah.
Commissioner Allen?
Illegals, that's better
Yes.
than aliens from outer space.
Yes. Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Actually got another item under there. 22.
We got another under other business or under,
Other business.
if they'll skip down to item number 22.
Lake Patrol contract. Oh, the one that I sent over today? Okay. That was a contract that's been presented forth from the Corps of Engineers. And it's an annual contract we've been doing for years. And it's going to be, it's part of the budget that we normally present every year. And we have funds ready to go for, and the way that their budget works, this will be for this summer. We've already appropriated funds in our current budget already for this year, but this is to cover the contract for this upcoming season. It's kind of a goofy way to do that. That's the way the federal contract works. So we just need permission to move forward on it.
No surprise.
And all it is Lake Patrol. Like, you know, that's all it is.
It pays overtime.
Yeah.
Make a motion for it.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan. Need a second.
And this contract, the county has had for several, well, gosh, for as long as I can remember.
We've been doing this since it probably had the lake.
And we include it in the budget every year. I don't know if you remember, but it's got its own
the
separate
third.
budget, not Watchman or something. It's its own budget. And we have to, so
I'll second it.
Second, Commissioner Schaefer. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan? Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, I got one other thing. Commissioner, Rep Mike Sparks, you remember this young man was a Boy Scout here in Murfreesboro that got killed on the interstate in Smyrna trying to change his mom's tire for him. Commissioner Sparks, we did a thing, we're doing a checkpoint this Friday night out 231 North at Walter Hill in his memory. But his mom started signing on the front. As you can see on the back, a lot of sheriffs across the state, state reps, state senators, police officers from all over the state have signed it. I brought a pen. We're going to present this. I got to take this back to Rep Mike Sparks tomorrow at the Capital Connection breakfast. But I brought a pen and wanted to pass it and see if y'all wanted to sign it for him tonight. So I'll start down here and just...
Should we sign on the back?
You can sign, no, Mom started signing it on the front, and it's going to Mama. Mama said that was okay today, so we were out of room on the back, and Mama came over and she had to sign it, and she said that was fine for all of us to sign. Thank y'all very much.
Fine young man that lost the community.
Yes, he's reached a lot of lives.
a really neat family.
Yes.
Do you want to have Doug come up while we're passing that? David, sorry, yeah. You know what I meant.
Yeah.
You know what I meant.
Yeah, we can, while that's going around, we can move the
Yeah.
building code fee increase. Mr. Jones, welcome.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Got a mini civic lesson tonight while you're waiting to get out.
My request tonight comes from the Public Works Department that asked to consider raising permit fees to help us fund the budget this year. We're asking for a couple of trucks and inspector back that we lost a few years back. Activity for the Building Codes Department, as you know, was picked up rapidly, and especially this year is coming on with a lot of demands. We did a study of the jurisdictions around the Metro Davidson County area. Tried to stay mostly in the Middle Tennessee area, but the counties surrounding Metro Davidson County is important to us for our records. The 12 county area is always in our
Thanks,
market
sir.
graphic studies. And when we did that, most of our jurisdictions that we requested report from were definitely higher than we are currently. If you look at the top left corner, the permit base fee for a 2,100 square foot house with a 500 square foot garage, 200 square foot unfinished or expandable area, today's fees, Rutherford County, is $796 for that permit. We're requesting to change and go to the 2015 International Code Council valuation chart to bring that permit cost to $976. So that's an increase of $180 for that size of a structure.
And David, tell us how long this fee structure's been in place. How long has it been since you?
This July, it'll be 10 years since we had an increase in our fees for permits. Our square footage fees are listed on the back of the page at the top, and our flat fees would be increased by $10 per permit, and they are start at the middle of the page there on our flat fees. So between the square footage increase and our flat fee cost, we think that definitely it'll bring us within line to balance our budget this year.
That would cover the cost of that new inspector.
Yes.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve this, and I'll go ahead and say this along with it, is anytime we can make growth help pay for itself, we need to do that. And that's what this is doing. The people that are actually causing this growth and impacting our community are the ones that are gonna have to pay this fee. Now, whether that's the individual that ultimately buys that home or apartment, or actually the developer or builder on the front end. That's why I'm going ahead and putting that out there.
A motion and a second, Mr. P, Mr. Jernigan. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan? Yes. Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer? Yes. Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate
Jones, you said you're gonna ask for another inspector. I know I've voiced my concerns to the mayor about the Department of Environment over the state where they do the septic tanks. They're down to basically no inspectors, or maybe one inspector, where 10 years ago they had about a half a dozen
Right.
and stuff, and that's become a nightmare for the people in the rural areas that have to get an inspection. I mean, it's weeks and weeks in some cases to get somebody out, which in my opinion is totally unacceptable and stuff. So I hope we
Agreed.
stay ahead of the curve. I know your business is booming compared to where it was 4 or 5 years ago, and I hate to talk about extra expenses, but we want to make sure keep enough people to be able to handle that demand.
I have talked, I haven't gone all the way to the commission yet, but I've talked to the person that's in charge of all these inspectors, and he's gonna give me some numbers on how many dollars they're collecting and for their permit fees under these inspections, et cetera. So I've asked him to, they're gonna have still one full-time and some part-time, but I told him we need to get up to about 3 folks. And I don't know how this will turn out. I haven't talked to anybody else about this, but once we find out how many dollars of fees they're collecting, I told him if they would get it up to 3, we would consider, I would recommend, we would give them 1 full-time support person, sort of as a trade-off to get them going. So I don't know what they're gonna propose, but if that doesn't work, and if they're collecting enough fees, several counties have already taken this over themselves. So we'll have to look at that to see if there's enough dollars there for us to support, hiring these people where we can control them, we've got them, and this we can give better service. So I stand by until maybe we'll have some discussion at budget time if we can get enough data.
I do
from
know
them.
for a fact there were at least 5, maybe 6 inspectors up there, 05, 06.
Right.
We're down to 1. the last several years. And that individual lately quit, and now we got somebody else coming in. That's totally unacceptable.
Yeah.
You know, to me, as far as just serving our residents out there. There are people out there who need support for repairs and stuff, and they're just having to go out and do them illegally, just so their bathrooms will actually work in their houses, because they can't get an inspector out to do the right thing. And so we've got to do something.
I had somebody call me, lives just right over the city line into the county, and they had that same problem, and I just asked Doug about it. And so probably your phone call happened at a great time, because that person got a call. They had told them it was going to be several weeks, and they got a call, you know, very short time after that saying it was ready. And so I got all these accolades for making something happen, but I was like, oh, I didn't make anything happen. And so I called Doug. I was like, did you make something happen? He was like, no. So it must have been you, Mayor. So
They've had
they
a
had
few
like a
phone
whole
calls from a lot
well,
of people.
they had a whole team, I guess, who dispatched at least for a short period of time to try to help them get caught up. So, and that's just been within the last few weeks. So, yeah. So anyway, so you're doing a little something.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones. Singer Road property purchase, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, you will remember that we purchased 22 acres on the corner of Florence Road and Singer Road. And if you look on your little map there, you can see there's 1 acre there that if you look to the north and to the west of that little blue 1 acre there, that's the property we already own, okay? So this is in an estate, and they were going to put that up for auction. And they were at the planning department, and Doug told them, and the realtor came over here, and I've had this discussion with him. We don't actually absolutely have to have this property, but I think it would be wise for future use by Rutherford County to go ahead and get that little 1 more acre, and it would give us another easy access to the very back part of our property if we needed it ever. And likely we're going to want to improve Singer Road somewhere along the way, and this would already give us an additional amount of, you might say, road right away without having to buy it later on. So we negotiated, and I talked to them, and so I offered $77,000 for that 1 acre, subject to approval by the commission, of course. The property management has approved this, and it was subject also to a negative phase 1 environmental study, and I've had the environmental study done, and that turned out completely clean. There's no problem. So that's where we are.
Is that everything in blue?
That's everything in blue, and it's
Was
a
there a
little.
mobile home on that track or something?
It's sort of one of those prefab kinds of homes. It's
We
not-
own the blue. It's the little yellow sliver along Singer
Oh,
Road.
it's a little sliver right here, okay.
That little sliver, I'm not,
Yeah.
until we do an actual deed on that and maybe even have to do a survey, I'm not sure about that little sliver.
Okay, that's what I thought you said we were buying.
Where's
the
the-
blue is what we're buying.
The blue is what we're buying.
Okay.
No, we own behind it back
Okay.
here,
And
yeah.
we own all that stuff to the top
The white
and
part.
left.
Okay.
There, yes.
So if you approve it, what we were recommending is recognizing additional revenue that we've received in the current year for development tax and using that money toward the purchase.
And that gives us access to Singer Road we don't currently have.
Now, we do have Singer Road. Now, if you look off the page here to your left, all of that's Singer Road. So we go all the way down to the corner of Florence Road. You can't see it on here, all right? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's the driveway of the house. back
Yeah, that's the
there.
driveway of that house.
Okay,
It's part of our
okay,
property.
And so what's that little strip in front of half the property?
I don't know until we maybe have to have a survey. I haven't read a deed description on this, okay?
It may be dedicated right away,
Or something?
because when they improved for that plant, they widened that road.
They may have done
I'm
it.
just thinking out loud here.
I don't know what that is
This
actually.
on thing right across the road there. Okay.
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Mr. Jernigan?
Is that subject to finding out what that little strip is?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You can handle that, can't you, Mr. Mayor?
I might have to have a surveyor to handle that. I don't know. And look at the deeds, recorded, et cetera.
We just want
Call
you to, I said, we just want you to inquire what it is.
I'll inquire
Yeah.
and find it, if I can get an answer.
Don't spend money. Just
I
inquire.
may have to go to the register of deeds
As long as
office
that
and do
doesn't
some
belong to their
homework.
cousin Bubba who
Yeah.
wants to sell it to us at some point in
Yes.
time.
Hold it hostage.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Pete?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Dead stock removal agreement.
This is our annual opportunity to renew this agreement on this dead stock removal. I will point out, we haven't had an increase on the amount we've been paying for 4 or more years probably. This time, for the first time, there is a 5% increase in what we've been paying for the last several years. 30-something thousand dollars in it, I believe. 36,102.94.
Mayor, does that, I know it says dead livestock removal here, but does that also take care of deer?
That's
It-
thing in a farm and domesticated
It's- yeah,
animals in
it's-
excess of
yeah.
75
Correct.
pounds.
You
That
call the
way-
highway department, they've got somebody that gets deer.
That weigh in excess of 75 pounds. You know, it does not say anything about
What's, what is it, Alt-Temp or something, whatever gets the.
Appertain.
Yeah, but no, but the place that takes care of euthanizes the small ones, don't they pick up some too? Something? Don't they pick up like deer and stuff like that?
We have an agreement. Animal Control has an agreement for all of the animals that we euthanize. We pay them to come get those. I do think that they will pick up those type of animals as well, but
When there's a deer on the side of the road in my district, now I call the highway department, and they've got somebody they send after it.
Okay.
And it's not the same, and it's not this bunch. This bunch will
No,
not
no,
get a deer.
Well, that's, I was confused
Yeah.
that it was this much.
What about if
That's
it's
why
a
I
deer in the
said
city?
Huh?
What's about if it's a deer in a city?
I don't know. I just know I've had people call me deer in the front yard or something, and I've called highway department, and they've gotten them the same day.
that's good.
I don't know who they're sending, but I just know they turn up gone.
Okay.
I think I did call Animal Control, and Michael had this group that euthanizes pick up one of our animals, a deer, once that was in Murfreesboro.
I get enough of that, right? Motion for approval.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer. Mr. Jernigan. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. People who represent unincorporated areas in the county, thank you for that. Resolution to request unclaimed balance of accounts remitted to state treasury under Unclaimed Property Act. Ms. Nolan.
And this is to request the money that we send to the state for unclaimed monies that are unclaimed, checks that are not going through our bank. We're asking for the money back.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Payne.
Second.
Mr. Schaefer. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. General fund budget amendment for the county mayor.
Well, Lisa just puts this under the county mayor. She can tell you about it. It's $25,000 to have paid for more
Or
legal
legal
services.
Coming out unassigned fund balance too.
And we do that next year's budget.
The bills are today. So this is a request to increase for the legal services, $25,000.
I'll second his motion.
Commissioner Jernigan, second by Commissioner Payne. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yeah.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. General fund budget transfer and amendment for finance. Ms. Nolan.
Okay, I've got two of them. The first one is within our department. I had restructured a position currently to come into the accountant's line item from clerical, and I miscalculated, so I need to move 2,100 down to the accountants. The second one is it's generated from finance, but it includes several different departments, and this is the one that we do every year after people have chosen their new various insurance, whether they're HRA or deduction or copay. And this just cleans those up. We budget where they are today, but then they change in January, so this is a cleanup amendment.
You're just getting a head start on the rest of the departments?
No, this is it.
That's it?
That's it. We did good.
Yeah.
Well, actually, this is what happened on what made this. You know, with moving the spouses off. In some departments, you just had a few, so you had no idea which ones are going to move. So I only adjusted the sheriff and workhouse budgets to account for maybe some leaving. So I do have, I have excess in a lot of the budgets.
I'll make a motion to approve the requests.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Allen. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Solid waste budget transfer.
There's two amendments here, and the first one is to correct longevity that's paid out. The amount paid out was right, what was budgeted was wrong. So $100 moved from part-time to longevity. And then this is with the insurance too. This is on the disability part. This is correction, $36.
Motion approved.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner P. Total of $136. Hope there's not a lot of discussion. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yeah.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. We've already covered our other business. Is there anything else? I welcome Ms. Crowell being here with us tonight. I kept looking for your item on the agenda. We're glad to have you with us.
Mr. Chairman, I think we probably want to do this at least twice, all right? Our wonderful finance department under leadership of Ms. Nolan and Mr. Tucker here, again, for many years in succession, have achieved the highest financial reporting award from our comptroller's office.
Well, up in double digits now, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
We're going to be disappointed if you don't get that one.
I know, it is a lot of pressure. They quit giving individual plaques, and they gave one big plaque, and now they give us little discs to put on every year, so.
Budget cuts.
Budget cuts.
Mr. Chairman, items of business? Okay. This Saturday, April 9th, 6 to 10 o'clock, Laverne Rescue Squad. Greatest ham breakfast in this county on April 9th. It's 2016. Off the old Nashville Highway behind Laverne Civic Auditorium on Gamble Lane, 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock a.m.
And
When
they do
everybody
put
gets-
out a good breakfast.
When everybody gets through eating their ham breakfast, they can come to the Lane Agri Park, April 9th, this Saturday, for Adventures in Agriculture, hosted by the Farm Bureau and the Extension Service, and everything from petting zoos to hay rides, and the children can learn all about where the food comes from, and very educational. They usually have hundreds and hundreds of people, maybe a little cool, may not have the usual crowd, but it's a great experience. I think it lasts till around 1 or 2. Free. It's great
I
entertainment
think
for the
it's
whole
10 to
family.
2.
Huh?
10 to 2, is that right?
I think it starts 9 or 10 and runs till 1 or 2, so.
One thing I just want to clarify, I'd asked Commissioner Schaefer if we were going to do a joint public safety and budget meeting like we did last year, and he said that he didn't believe we were going to do that. We were just going to do them separately. So I think it might be worthwhile to know when they're going to present their budget. So if we do want to come to that one, we may want to do that. So are they going to present it on the 25th?
Yes.
Do they have it ready for
The
the
25th.
So Monday the 25th this month is when public
Right.
safety will present theirs.
Will that take place here?
Yeah, one of these two rooms. The only other thing that'll be done that night is anybody that has budget amendments from the other departments will report to public safety and bring them in.
It was just really helpful to me last year.
A lot of information.
A lot of things with it last year.
And come May, starts our budget process.
If there's nothing else to come before this body tonight, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much.
We don't have anything on May 11th, do we?